Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, I have a very exciting discussion. I will have a discussion with Sateesh Seetharamaiah. Satish, how are you doing?
Doing well, Pascal. Thanks for having me here. Looking forward to
Welcome,
having.
Satish. Welcome. Let me share a small introduction before we start. So, currently, every company says they want to be AI first, but very few actually know what it means. And even fewer know how to get there. And that's why today's conversation matters. So I'm joined by someone who has been shaping the future of enterprise AI long before the rest of the world. So Satish, you are the CEO and global head of Edge products at EdgeVerve. Satish, you've spent 25 years at the crossroad of technology, strategy, and execution. We just discussed now you've been living in the US for a long time, and now you live in India, and you are in Bangalore, which is the new Silicon Valley of the world. You've helped build EdgeVerve. That started 11 years ago, if I'm not wrong, and you have already 3,000 people in this company. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what you do and how you help companies. And basically, you've pushed the limits of supply chain innovation, of IoT, the Internet of Things, automation, of course. We'll talk a lot about this. Platform thinking, we'll talk about this as well. And you're bringing something that is very rare in this very noisy industry of AI and automation, direct and actionable clarity. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what should companies do what should they chase in a world that is AI powered. Why do enterprises still struggle to adopt these technologies? What does an AI first transformation actually means in practice? Which business outcome should matter in a company and to drive it in the right direction? And how can organizations progress toward autonomous enterprises by using agentic AI? So again, Satish, welcome to the show, and I'm very excited by this discussion. Uh, Satish, first of all, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you've came about to build EdgeVerve?
Well, first of all, again, thanks, Pascal. Great to be here and speaking to you and your audience. And it's been an incredible journey over the last 10, 15 years. So much around us, Pascal, you've seen change and change for the better. Technology has, if any, has made all our life so much more, has enriched our life so much. And we are seeing the same kind of impact on enterprise performance as well. And I've had the fortune of being at the crossroads of quite a few such technology innovations and the changes that have followed subsequently, starting from the IoT days and into the early days of the cloud transformation. And we all saw what mobile did. And now, we went into the automation era, and now we are in this AI era.
Hmm.
And so it's just been an unbelievable ride altogether. And as far as me and EdgeVerve, I've been one of the founding members of this company. Now part of the board of EdgeVerve, and EdgeVerve is a wholly owned subsidiary of Infosys.
Okay.
This is one of the
Yes.
largest system integrators in the world.
Hmm.
And we're purely focused on EdgeVerve. It's focused on engineering world-class products and platforms, software products and platforms, and that's the business we've been in. And and to some of us, Pascal, 2012 was a moment of reckoning when AlexNet was launched, and we saw the potential of this technology come together, more so in the vision form at that time, and how the vision technology could literally beat humans at that time. And some of us who were closely
computer
watching.
vision. And that was the beginning of the
Exactly,
computer vision.
Yeah, early days of computer vision, and also it just showed the real power of neural nets at that time, and it became quite apparent that something remarkable is going to follow, because that was an incredible breakthrough while AI has been there for a long time on how to really build large language structures and so on and so forth. The technology was evolving. Obviously, there was a cost element and the performance element, and all of this had to be solved. But we knew, we being humans, we're always curious creatures, and we continue to solve problems. So we knew it was just a matter of time; things will just start becoming better. And so in 2014,
and AlexNet came at the time when you started EdgeVerve with the team
just around that. Yeah, maybe a year and a half from then is when we formed EdgeVerve as a company, and we went into
and EdgeVerve, one of your in the tool set of products that you have, one of them is about intelligent document processing, which is about scanning and understanding intelligently and processing intelligently documents like invoices or any forms or anything on paper. So that's not a random thing. Huh?
Exactly.
Where they are at the beginning.
Exactly. That was the beginning, right? So we went into two areas, basically. One is in the automation space, we picked up RPA. Yeah. It was just around that time when RPA was really, even the term was getting.
Yeah, definitely. In the 2014, 15, something like that.
Yeah, right. And then we were one of the leaders in that space that we picked up. And we continue to, deliver value using RPA to hundreds of customers in the world. And then,
so you do this across industry, but I think you're working a lot in the banking industry.
Yes, banking. It is across industries, but a good amount of RPA work is in the banking and the telecommunications industry.
Yes, banking and telco. Yes, and especially banking makes sense because. And I always say that is such a regulated environment with so much constraints that if you can automate things there, it's easy to automate in other industries.
Exactly. In fact, as we get into the AI story, you'll see that we're seeing some same thing repeating. Slightly slower process as we start, but something similar is happening in AI. And so picking on that AlexNet, inspiration, we moved on to build another product. The RPA product was called as AssistEdge, and then we went on to build another product called as ExtractEdge, which was in the IDP space, the intelligent document. Yep. So it was basically leveraging the vision capabilities that had come to foray. So we essentially had these two technologies and offerings in the market, the AssistEdge and the ExtractEdge, which was delivering value. Specifically around ExtractEdge, we were focused on looking at complex documents, not necessarily repetitive, templatized documents, but to look at extremely complex documents and draw insights from those.
Unstructured documents like contracts or like documents that are not structured, not predictable in their form.
Yes. So we, that was our passion, and we went after complex documents, more unstructured documents to see how we could solve. And we believe that from an AI perspective, that could be the lowest hanging fruit, is to solve, and again, even today, I believe, Pascal, a good amount of the world runs from unstructured documents. So this is a problem that is yet to be really solved in that sense, right?
Yes. And so much workforce is focused on doing low value work on these documents, just extracting information, and so there is it's a low hanging fruit. There is a lot of opportunity to optimize.
Exactly, and it's one of the enablers, if you were to look at an AI first enterprise. Right? There are many enablers, but this is one of them, is to go after unstructured documents and make them more structured, if you will, driving insights from them.
Yes.
And while all of this was going on, then came the Eureka moment of ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to step back a little bit, in fact, we were in 2015, we probably were the first company to contribute to OpenAI when it was formed as a trust.
Okay.
So we
Oh, you
believed in
worked with OpenAI in 2015.
2015,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
2015. And we,
Visionaries.
yeah, so Infosys, EdgeVerve, we contributed to, actually, we were probably, if not wrong, we were the first contributors worldwide to OpenAI when it was formed as a trust. We truly believed, Pascal, that this technology can be revolutionary, not just for enterprises, but society in general, right? And so ever since we've been kind of watching and working closely on this technology, but really the Eureka moment was the ChatGPT. It came like a tsunami.
2022. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came like a tsunami. Everybody could.
But I remember GPT-2, GPT-3 were already quite impressive.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, but for the larger section of the world which had not seen AI in action, it was like a wow thing. And it just obviously spread like wildfire, the art of possible, and so on and so forth. So we as a company also had to reinvent our own strategy in
Yes.
terms of what's the purpose of us now that we have done some of our work in automation space. We also, in parallel, had built out in fact, I'll talk about it later if I get an opportunity. One of the larger demand sensing network where we handle petabytes of data and so on and so forth. So we kind of merged the data processing, the automation capability, AI, and so on and so forth, and we kind of envisioned a company where we would build a single unified platform, which we now call as EdgeVerve AI Next. And that's a unified platform to help enterprises become AI first, right?
Very good.
And this
So when you say it includes everything that we discussed from now, which is intelligent document processing, robotic process automation,
data,
then generative AI as well.
correct? Yes, much more than what we spoke. We brought in all the legacy capabilities that we had, but we had to reinvent it in a very different. You can manifest all these capabilities for a different purpose, and we augmented that with data harmonization, data governance capabilities, built the
Good.
generative capabilities, in addition to the machine learning, traditional classic AI, if you will, augmented it with a lot of workflow capabilities, and then you enriched user experience in the AI world. So all of this into a single unified stack, and that's how AI Next as a platform came about. And that
So
obviously,
end-to-end process automation workflows with
yes,
really different capabilities, able to
absolutely
read
reinvented.
documents, to think, and to generate voice or generate text. I mean, I can see that, yeah, quite comprehensive in terms of
Yeah,
capabilities.
absolutely. And I'll explain a little later on why a platform like this is a necessity for enterprises to go after AI first strategy. But in this process, we ourselves, have to reinvent us. Right? We have our own AI first story, right? From in reinventing our core product, launching a new product, in the face of AI and the opportunities, we had to evolve our business model, our pricing, packaging, everything changed. We had to revamp our GTM strategy, which is who we were selling as an
Go to
RPA and
markets.
an
Yeah.
ITP
Yeah.
company. It's very different in who we would really position an AI next kind of platform, right? So
Yes.
C-level engagement. We obviously embraced AI in our organization itself, and our entire R&D process is now completely redesigned. And the
Yes.
productivity gains that we are seeing, Pascal, because of this technology is incredible in our own company.
Yes. So
We,
you were doing agentic before agentic even existed.
kind of, you can call it a song, right? And
Yeah,
something,
it was not called like this, but the capabilities were quite shallow, I would
they,
say. And now with large language models and the capacity to think and so on, the capabilities are much higher. But yeah, I mean, and that's very close to my story as well. Huh? We come from an automation world where we had basic capabilities, where we had to automate processes, end-to-end processes, and found great opportunities and great benefits, tangible benefits from that. Uh, but then with those new capabilities, large language model capable of understanding context and then planning actions, performing those actions using tools, and so on. That brings us to a new level. But what is great is we've learned for decades how to automate, how to transform companies into automation. That when this new step comes up, we have an advantage. We know a lot of things that can be transposed, correct? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah,
whether it's change is in the change management area or in the process reengineering or the reorganization of companies, all those things
no,
that are very
absolutely.
similar haven't really changed basically.
Yeah, I think the possibilities are so unlimited right now. During RPA days, you may recall, we were some of us in this technology world who were building and implementing RPA. We used to wonder what if it could see, what if it could hear, what if it could think. Imagine the art of possible. And if it can automate workflows with the relatively simplistic capability of the early RPA, imagine if you could augment it with many other human attributes. And that's what agentic has become, essentially. Right? And it's like a bedrock on which the agentic evolved. We could kind of say it as such. But I think RPA was one of the earliest avatars of the agentic. It's one way to say it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And in the process also, Pascal, we had to rescale. As a company, it was difficult. Even though we are a tech company, AI is different. It needs different thinking.
Yeah, so you
It
have to
needs a very
reinvent
different
yourself
mindset.
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So across our company, across hundreds and thousands of people, we have to really reskill them, orient them to think AI. And what does that really mean? And how do you really go about, engaging with a technology like this? And how does your own day-to-day work change? How can you use this to deliver something more and better? So all of that reskilling is something that we've gone through in the last 2.5 years. And now that this AI Next as a platform has been launched, and we have now well over 20 plus large scale implementations of this introduction. We have now obviously we're now implementing this internally to drive our own
Cool, I love it.
efficiency in
The
our own
client
process.
zero stories are always
Exactly, right?
always so important. Drink
So
your own champagne.
yeah, you can sort of eat your dog food, yeah, however you put it, but that's what we're doing right now. So it's been an incredible journey for us, Pascal, over the last 10, 12 years. And in the next 5 years, I believe it's going to be even more exciting.
Excellent. Excellent. I love it. Satish, let's move now that we understand where you're coming from, what you've built with which capabilities and yeah, the opportunities you got to evolve with new capabilities offered by technology. Can you tell us more about your clients, what you do, how you help them, and first question maybe could be what North Star should firms chase in an AI-powered world?
Great question, Pascal, especially on the North Star. I think, see, the world initially thought, and it still thinks, that AI is a way to reduce headcounts. See, it's kind of building on that automation thing. Right? You can automate more, you need less people. While that is true, I think there's a far more um, larger purpose I think we can all go after using the technology. And 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 to me that is for every enterprise today, they have an opportunity to go after what is called as digital native performance. So
Every company should lean towards or pursue the goal of being similar
digital
to
native,
an AI native, correct?
correct, exactly, and that is part of it. Today with AI. in all the adjacent technologies that AI will pull along with it, now you can completely reimagine and rewire how your company is orchestrated and how you deliver value to your customers. The entire value chain can be reconstructed.
So
And
AI, so AI native companies are those companies who've been born with digital in their hands. Basically, they are new companies. Huh? You can't have digital is new, so those companies are quite new. So you can't change the way you were born as a legacy company, I would say, or traditional company, but you can reach the same level of performance. That's your point.
exactly,
Huh?
exactly. So if you were to
So you
look
can
at
become an AI first company in a way. Huh?
exactly that's it. The North Star is to truly become AI first company, which means you have the opportunity to now, on multiple operational parameters in your company, to achieve performance of digital native folks, whether it is cost of acquiring your customer, speed at which you innovate, digital knowledge, talent, skills that employees, how much of AI ML is penetrating in your organization. You can just take any parameter that we want across the board, financial or operational parameter. You will see that digital natives are far better. See, I think every organization right now has this opportunity to become AI first, and in the sense, truly aspire to have digital native performance.
Yes.
On multiple dimensions, whether it is operational parameters, whether it is financial parameters, the way your workforce is organized, the way you serve your customer, the way you innovate. I think every element of who you are as a company can be re-envisioned with this technology. And I was reading I think it was either BCG or a McKinsey report where they had classified this into four buckets. They had the legacy company, and then they said there is the digital incumbent, which are the legacy company which are becoming digital in nature. And then you had digital natives, which are like the Zoom call we're doing today. It's one of those digital natives. And then you had the digital hyperscalers. These are companies which were born digital but have massive scale. Whether it is Netflix or Tencent and all of these companies. And talking about Tencent, maybe I'll just share a story. Is
Yes.
Tencent and financials. They were.
Oh
It
yes,
was. It is.
the big. So the Ant Financial is a big financial company based in Hong Kong, if I'm not wrong. Huh?
Right. And
Yeah.
see, look what they
And
did.
I think they have the largest number of customers in the world, if I'm not wrong.
Exactly. See, in
As a bank, yeah.
as a bank, exactly.
Mm.
See, in 5 to 6 years of forming that company, they had close to 1 billion consumers. 1 billion.
Mhm.
And that would be 10x the largest banks in America in terms of consumer size, right?
Yes.
And very quickly after that, while they started with their core business, they were able to launch many adjacent offerings, whether it's in the insurance space, in the credit risk assessment, credit scoring space, uh, in the mortgage and lending, and so on and so forth. So before one could imagine, they had actually a portfolio of offerings. All of this served to over 1 billion consumers. And the most interesting story is they were able to do that with 1/10 of the employees of the largest bank.
Wow.
So it just shows just one story, but just shows the power of digital natives.
Yes. And how
In,
old are they? Can you remind me?
I think this is maybe 10, 12 years ago.
Okay, that's
And,
crazy.
and
So they
look at
started 12 years ago. They are now the largest bank in the world. I mean, at least with the largest
one
amount of
customers, consumers,
customers, and they work with 10 times less employee than a traditional bank.
traditional bank. And it's all because they are completely run on digital bank. And just to
Yes. So they
clarify,
started. So in a way, I would say I would be the devil advocate here, but in a way, they
digital
started
native.
12 years ago as when digital was here already. So they've been able to work to build their workflows directly on
On the spot.
digital and organize all their processes on digital right away.
Uh,
So they have an advantage. But what you
Absolutely.
say what you say, Satish, is now knowing this, even a bank that is 100 years old can become as performant as Ant Group in Hong Kong, uh, just by rethinking the way they use AI.
Absolutely. If you look at DNB, that's another bank, Singapore bank, incredible digital usage, and the turnaround stories of them is also very exciting. There are many stories outside of banking also in terms of digital native performance. Now, this, which was unthinkable for traditional firms, is now a possibility just because of AI. And that is the real power of this platform. And that's the real North Star. Going back to your North Star question, an aspiration that's well worth pursuing and go on after. And the other is, this is not only for large enterprises. If you were to step back and Pascal, look at there are tens of thousands of mid-sized enterprises, 3 billion, 5 billion, 7 billion. Most likely their transformation to become digital native incumbents is going to be far more quicker and faster than the large enterprises if they do this right. And that is incredible power. So you look at these mid enterprises now today, trying to figure out how do I scale globally, and all of a sudden comes AI, which can give them that kind of an unbelievable technology canvas on which you can now springboard and scale your business, change your performance parameters, and all of that stuff. So it's not just for large enterprises. I think this can be a huge differentiating factor for even mid-sized enterprises. And then one of the things that I share even internally is, just to make it very simple for people to understand, is in traditional enterprises, we've built all these different legacy systems and ERP systems and so on and so forth, and people sit on top of it, right? People, finally, human beings start doing the things and taking support from these systems. And that's how traditional companies are. And here, then you have the customer, and then the people, and then the systems. And in the transformed new world of AI world, you have the customers, then you got the software and systems, and then you got people, and the people are basically designing the software that's going to run the company. And that's the shift. That's the paradigm shift. And we in EdgeVerve, Pascal, have made this our passion. We want to help companies, go after this ambitious vision and help them actually reach for this.
I love it. I love it. So just to summarize what I understood from you now, every company can become as performant as a digital native or AI native company by having a bold vision that is centered around the use of AI, but also centered around people. I think that's a critical component. Having a bold vision of reinventing the business we are in, not being scared by that, and what I see with those more traditional companies is the depths. They think of the technical depths, of the organizational depths, the silos, the data that is not good. All this, we can go beyond this. We can by having a bold trajectory, a bold ambition of reinventing ourselves from the data to the processes and bringing AI and people in the center of all this.
Exactly. And when this is much more than reducing headcount. Reducing headcount and driving cost efficiencies because of that is one of the elements. Actually, when we look at it from this North Star point of view, it probably will be one of the smaller of the larger transformation value that's ahead of us. And I don't believe, Pascal, companies have a choice. I think they have to just do this. It's just a matter of time. How quickly will they start, and how will they scale this? And you got to get started somewhere, right? And And if any, in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see that most companies have no choice but to just take this journey.
Yeah, definitely. Even if the metrics or the outcome are not coming right away, the learning that companies get from following those objectives of getting bold into I think are invaluable and create a barrier to entry for the others, create a compounding advantage over time because you're learning from your data that makes you more intelligent and makes you it's compounding. Yes, it's exponential in a way. Huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. And this, this is an opportunity for enterprises across all industries, and it is across all geographies. So it is not limited to any specific industry.
Yeah.
It's not limited to any geography. I think no matter where their cost structures are, they have an opportunity to further optimize,
Yes.
further redefine their process, reimagine how they deliver value to their customers.
Yes. So Satish, now let me be the devil advocate. Advocate, sorry. I'm a 100-year-old company in supply chain or in banking. I have a lot of technical depths. My organization is siloed. That's been, I mean, it's history. People have been working in my company for 30 years. They spend their lives there. They are happy and so on. And so which steps should I take to get to the AI native? What would be your recommendations?
Yeah. So just to spend a few minutes on the challenges, and maybe I'll come to your question. It is, I think, what we are seeing, as we implement AI Next in many of our customers is the technical or architectural inertia and the operational inertia, coupled with the human, change resistance. All these three come together as headwinds.
As
And
what? Say again.
as headwinds to really,
Yes.
take on this journey. You have to break through these. You have to break through that inertia that you have, which is,
Yes.
and when we say architectural inertia, it is what you said. Most of them are extremely siloed systems, siloed data, siloed processes, siloed functions, and because they've all been put up as bricks at different times, solving different problems, and
Yes.
they've evolved naturally to this stage, right? All of those decisions were right at those times.
Yes.
But it's become a very complex enterprise landscape today. And so the real question is, if you look at from an IT perspective, well, what does modernization and going into AI first mean? I'm going to modernize each one of these. Am I going to change each one of these? And I got hundreds of these. How do I do that? So that's one
Yes.
big question. Second is, we spoke about it earlier, which is value. Am I going to really think about this as a headcount reduction play, or am I going to think about this as an opportunity to reimagine how I deliver value to my customers, to my partners, how I reimagine how I interface and interact with my value chain, etc. That's the second thing to solve. And then the third is the human element, which anyway, we've seen with every technology change, it's the same thing, and we'll come across, right? As humans, we will embrace it eventually.
Yes.
And the first one, specifically around the silo technology, it's a very complex, cost-intensive activity, and even a high-risk activity to start modernizing each one of your applications. And it's time-consuming. The total cost of ownership of this project can be extremely expensive, very hard to justify, and so on and so forth, which is one of the reasons, Pascal, we felt there was a need for another platform, a platform that will abstract this complexity and unshackle them from the technology inertia and put them at a different playing field where this particular platform, which is this unified AI Next platform, can sit on the enterprise landscape, be that master orchestration engine that's going to orchestrate everything from data to process to models, all things to do with orchestration, and allowing companies to really think enterprise-wide agentics, engineering and orchestration, and playing that across their entire landscape, right? So if you can imagine, this is one platform that sits on their complex web of enterprise landscape, and this becomes now the playground on which they can reimagine and redesign their operations without having to gut all their traditional systems that they've built out and buy time to modernize them and not necessarily having to make that as a prerequisite to going after an AI first strategy. So that's the first step that we believe enterprises will have to do, is to choose the right platform, whether it is internally architected and built or a third party, which will allow them to really accelerate on this AI first journey without having to really redo everything that they have built over these years. And that is step one, is to make the right kind of platform decision. And secondly is to reimagine. One, obviously the natural instinct is, let me automate what I got, how I do, which I think is very natural, right? And we've been through that in RPA days. We did it time and time again, thousands of times, and it's worked well. It's worked well. It has delivered value. It's not a bad place to start, but should not be the aspiration and ambition, right? The aspiration has to be to see how can a technology of this empower my order processing process to be completely reimagined, or how I serve my customer calls to be completely reimagined, etc. So it is about reimagining that. That is the second element of how would an enterprise go about doing this. And third is obviously, to start implementing this, right? And in bits and in some phased manner. So the first real thing, Pascal, I think, is to really make this technology choice, because to go after this ambitious vision on this complex enterprise landscape that is already existing is a very daunting task.
Love it. I love it. That's very clear. I mean, I don't have any questions out of what you just said. It's crystal clear. Can you just give us an illustration, for example, of a company that has been through those 3 steps and from where to where? And is it something? I mean, you don't need to name the company, but
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, as I mentioned, we've been working with multiple firms around the world, delivering value using this, and this is across industry segments. One I mentioned to you earlier, AI Next is covering today. There's not a specific client, I would say. This is a value chain transformation where it runs the largest demand sensing network in the world. And what do I mean by that? Connecting 35 plus top CPG companies with 3+ million retail outlets and connecting the data and making sure that the data pipeline is orchestrated and built right so CPG companies have near real-time information of what's happening in their supply chain. That's one very powerful SaaS-centric value proposition that we've delivered more around the supply chain area.
yes.
The other is specifically, I think this is one of the banks, one of the large banks in the world. They had a trade verification, which was pretty much manual. Actually, the whole thing was manual. From verifying the documents to making decisions and then actually closing this whole trade process was fully manual. And they embraced EdgeVerve AI Next as a platform to transform trade verification. And I wouldn't say it was an easy journey because you have to first of all reimagine the process and how you want to do trade verification in the future. Secondly, you have to put this platform in play. You have to decide what's the right language model to be used, at what cost, performance, will the value work, etc. So there were a lot of decisions that had to be made. But once this was implemented, now this company started at around 70% straight through processing from 100% manual. Their first go live was at around 70% straight through processing. And it's taken them, I'd say, 6 months or so. Today, the latest data is they're at 96% straight through processing. Now that's incredible value for them, not only in terms of the time, in terms of the ability for them to serve their customer far more quicker and faster, but on almost all parameters and counts, this trade verification process is completely, dramatically improved. That is one example.
Yeah, very good, very good. And I think customer satisfaction, customer experience,
all of it, right?
Yes.
And all of it got transformed through one single process because they were able to reimagine it. The other is I would say, a lot more complex. This is in one of the largest shipping companies in the world. They wanted to transform their back office operations, right? Simple booking, freight, invoicing process, and all those kinds of stuff. And a lot of that was in the minds of people. So it was mostly tribal knowledge.
Yes.
So it's interesting how much of the world really runs back offices run on tribal knowledge. It's just unbelievable. There are thousands and thousands and thousands.
Especially in maritime, there is a lot of documentation.
And it's complicated, right? You have taxation and regulations and import, export, all kinds of things. And all of this, and this customer's value proposition was to serve their customers, give them a lot of variations. So they were working on hyper-personalization was a differentiation. So they wanted to do hyper-personalization and also drive automation, not compromising on hyper-personalization. And AI Next as a platform is now in production, live, running over now 120 countries, automating some of these booking process and freight and invoicing process, reducing their not only straight through processing, but also the handling time, et cetera, de-risk their decision-making process, because there were a lot of things that they were doing where, especially when containers are booked and shipped, they have to verify, how much risk they can take before they book. But in the interest of time, they used to book and then verify and close. Now the handling time and the processing time has come down so much, they can actually do this with proper verifications. So it's actually even drove them de-risking. Errors have been eliminated because there was so much of human involvement. And now all of this tribal knowledge is digitally available for them. We have a very powerful rules engine in EdgeVerve AI Next, which has now converted all that tribal knowledge into digital knowledge. And this now becomes a universe of data to train small language models, which are very contextual to their business. Right? This is a transformation that is kind of playing out as we speak. This is another story. And then there's one more in the telecommunications. I mentioned about telecom earlier in the RPA days. This is one of the largest telecommunications company in the world based in America. And they had what's called as tower lease contracts. They had these thousands of towers. And all of these are put up in all kinds of places. And they have very complex contracts that govern these towers. And these contracts runs into hundreds, if not thousands pages. Extremely complex negotiations would have happened. Tenures are very long. There are a lot of risks and liabilities that are structured as part of those things. But once the contract was closed, there was no insight as to how to operate, whether they were compliant, non-compliant, there would be risks and exposures. And all of that was completely manual. And using EdgeVerve AI Next as a platform, we've been able to transform how they govern their their tower leasing operations using contract and legal negotiations that they've closed as a basis to run their operations, right? Because using AI Next and its IDP capabilities that we spoke earlier, we were able to now draw a lot of insights and provide insights on how they want to really renegotiate these contracts, restructure these contracts, and how to even operationalize these contracts. So there are multiple examples, Pascal,
Yes.
across industries, and these
That
are
speaks by Satish. That is really precious. That speaks by itself. I mean, those illustrations are precious. I mean, tangible, actionable. We see that it's happening,
not all
and
of
with the
them.
depths of
Yeah,
learning, we learn from that, and we can reproduce the same in many other companies and many other functions within the same company, and so on.
absolutely. And look, many of these they started in a certain level of AI maturity, right? When AI, let's say ChatGPT 2 was there, Gemini had just started. They go live, Gemini is there. And something more a contextually intelligent model by a startup gets released, which is very relevant to them. Now, what happened was a platform like AI Next abstracts that complexity, allows them to pivot from model A to model B with almost real time, near zero switching cost. Because models will be dime a dozen over time.
Yes.
It's not going to be, right? That's not going to be, there will always be another version of the model which will perform better at a lower cost, doing better inferencing and all of that stuff. So how can companies, kind of get the best of what is available in the world right now without having to really redo all the thinking that they did? And that's what this platform does. It gives them that.
Really it has to be different. It depends on the use case. You will not use a Ferrari to get your bread.
Exactly.
So you really need specific
right?
capabilities for specific use cases and
exactly.
be able to juggle with that. Yeah.
One is having multiple models driving different processes. The other is even within a processes, you may have to switch different models and evolve, retire some models, bring in new models over time. And we've seen all this play out. And the other thing, Pascal, you asked about organizations. Not all organizations are ready to take this technology into production. I don't think the understanding of what it takes to put AI and govern AI in production is actually is mature in most organizations. In fact, in every customer we have gone to, our implementation is what has really given them structure, has helped them develop governance, policies, processes, making sure that the right people take accountability to manage this in production. So all this, while technology moved from POC to development to testing to production, even their understanding on how to govern the technology like this got mature. So that's another thing that happens in the process, right? You can't just take this technology and just put it in production so easily.
That is so important. The learning curve. Yeah, definitely. Satish, we could speak for hours. I know. that's our danger. That's our risk. Satish, I think you've given us so much insight. We've been through the trenches where you've been, and you've shown us how tangible it is and real it is. And thank you so much for all this. If you had just one word to say for the end, and we'll need to close because we are 6 minutes over already.
Time flies. No, it was great, Pascal, having this dialogue with you. Continuing to share our stories with you over time.
Excellent.
And I'm sure there will be many more interesting such transformational stories that will come up, and hopefully with some customer as well. And we look forward to doing those. Yes, I'd like to just leave that parting comment for every listener that really the North Star is for you to really transform and aspire to become almost digital native, if not digital native.
Yes.
And that kind of performance parameters and performance is now in your reach. You can do it. And you just need to take some baby steps and be careful about it. Redream and reimagine your processes, but it is possible.
I love it. Thank you so much, Satish. That was an amazing discussion. Thank
Thank
you
you,
to all of
Pascal.
you watching us, and we'll
Thank
see
you,
you next time.
Pascal.
Huh?
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. Bye. Bye.